Good morning, good morning, good morning, ninjas. It is Melanie Hind, aka Princess Ninja, aka the Keto Critic, coming to you with an impromptu live video. Now, I know that I'm usually the only one up out of all my peeps. Occasionally, Sheena, Tracy will travel in here. But I am an early riser, and I know I've got friends all over the United States in different time zones. Hey, Darlene, I knew you'd be here. So today I just want to talk a little bit about binge eating. I want to talk a little bit about my story. My story may not be applicable to you. My story may be completely different than your story. The intention of this live video is just to kind of talk about the emotions and my history with eating disorders and binge eating, and talk to you about how keto and intermittent fasting has adversely changed the way I eat, the way I think about food, and the quantity of food that I eat. Yes, I am also an emotional. I suffer from anxiety, and most people don't know that because I am a master at hiding it. The higher my anxiety, the worse my OCD becomes. Meaning, if you were to come to my house at any given time and I am frantically cleaning and scrubbing and my house is sparkly and you're looking around going, what in the world? And I'm going to be sitting there convinced and telling you my house is a mess. I got to get my house clean. Because I have found it's a coping mechanism that cleaning, okay, so a clean house is something that I have complete 100% control of. The harder I work, the cleaner it looks. The harder I clean, the better it smells. The harder I clean, the better I feel, because I feel like I'm controlling my environment when really control is an illusion. It is an illusion. When my life is chaotic and my heart is spinning out of control and I have forgot who my father is, I tend to grasp a hold of what I feel I can control. I've had a touch of OCD. It was the exact opposite when I was in my teen years. I was a slob. I'm talking slob, absolute total. I was a parent's worst nightmare. Yes, I was a parent's worst nightmare. My room was a disaster. I was so dirty, I was gross. I was gross. I mean, I'd leave plates with food in my room. I wasn't supposed to eat in my room, but we'll talk about that in another video. I was gross. I left clothes. I didn't hang my stuff up. My room was not sparkly, spick and span. But something happened after I had my first child. This is where the OCD drastically changed. Actually, sometime during my pregnancy. While I was pregnant with my daughter is when the cleaning OCD kind of took over. Now, they say that there's a natural occurring behavior in pregnant women before delivery called nesting. Well, that hit me, I'm going to say about a month before my daughter was born, where I was cleaning and organizing everything and frantically felt like this is not clean enough. This is not, I don't have my shit together. Basically, there was just this overwhelming panic and need to organize everything. And what I did not realize is a lot of that was embedded fear of me feeling like I could not handle the responsibility and the overwhelming responsibility of raising a child. And so that OCD kind of turned and culminated into this manic state of, if I clean everything, if everything is perfect, if my house is perfect. Please understand, I grew up in a perfect home. My mom, you could eat off any surface in my house. My mom was a cleaner. And now, looking back, I can actually see some of my manic behavior in what my mom did, because my mom identified herself and I identify myself with how clean my house is. I feel judgment. I feel the pressure to be the perfect wife, the perfect mom, and if my house isn't spotless, then I'm not doing that. A lot of what culminated in that kind of anxiety and compulsive behavior was the fact that I had so many people that knew me as a young child that even into my mid-20s and 30s, long after I had changed those behaviors, they like to throw it in my face. Oh, you remember how dirty your room was? You remember how filthy? And they would wait until they could embarrass me with this information. They would wait until like the most awkward of moments to share these details about my shortcomings in front of people, which then drove an even deeper need for me to redeem myself. I felt like I needed to redeem myself. Along with these kind of obsessive, oh gosh, you have not met these people. I'm not going to name their name, but I had one individual, and I have another individual that has, oh my gosh, I honestly believe that these people just hate my every fiber of me, because I cannot imagine going out of my way over a period of 20 years to just make someone feel unloved, unwanted, snide little comments, remarks under their breath, rolling their eyes as you spoke, letting you know that they're totally disgusted by you. Just let me tell you about this one person, and then I'm going to go to food addiction. I have one person in my life that has tore me down. You remember what you did when you were 20? You remember what you did? You remember how you was? Do you remember what you said? Do you remember what you lied about? Do you remember how disgusting your room was when you were 16? Do you remember not listening to anybody? Do you remember being defiant? Do you remember smoking cigarettes? And I mean, it's been my whole freaking life. And finally, another member of my family stood up for me. This is how bad it is. A member of my family simply stepped forward and said, that's not who Melanie is today. Melanie has completely changed her life. Melanie has turned herself around. Melanie has been incredibly successful, but this person did not want to hear that, not even this much. Do you know that this person has such disdain for me that they disowned the other family member for simply defending my name? That's all they did. They defended my name, and they were also disowned and ridiculed. And this is how much hatred this person has towards me. But she's very passive aggressive, and if you ask her side of the story, she's the victim. Always the victim. Always can do no wrong. So anyway, moving on. I'm writing about this in my book, but the reason that I think that it's important to talk about is yes. The reason it's important to talk about this issue is because for people who've never been a binge eater, it's so hard. It's so easy for them to say, well, just don't eat. For someone who's never had an eating disorder, it's so easy. For someone who doesn't have OCD, number one, if you have an eating disorder, more than likely you have some type of anxiety disorder or some type of obsessive compulsive disorder that has triggered. See, the whole thing is the feeling of control. But also, me personally, not every binge eater, I'm only speaking about my journey. I used binge eating to punish myself. It was punishment. I deserved to be fat. I deserved to be ugly. Nobody was going to love me anyway. So why not just eat myself into complete oblivion? The weird part about this binging is that I had several people in my life that cared very much about my weight. Boyfriends, girlfriends, girls that were friends that were like, Melanie, oh, you've put on a few pounds. I had people constantly in my ear about how fat I was going to get. Even in a loving way as parents, as parents do. Like, I had that positive reassurance from adult figures in my life. Oh, there's a lot of men out there that like full-figured girls. There's a lot of and then you had the ones that were like more cushion for the pushing, all this, I like big butts. And then of course that song came out. But anyway, so, I was under a lot of pressure to be thin, especially by my daughter's father, who is one of these guys that he cannot find beauty in anything over a size 3. He can't find, he likes the women that are rail thin, thigh gap about that far apart, just skin and bone, just a skeleton, and let's drape a curtain over it. That's what he wants. So every woman that he ever cheated on me with was rail thin, 90 pounds soaking wet, real skinny. And then he would say, well, look at how beautiful she is. Do you blame me? Look at her gorgeous body. So that is where I was comparing myself to. So anyway, you couple that kind of dysfunction with an already existing OCD, and what you have now is an eating disorder. I was eating myself to death, but I didn't do it in public. I actually developed a fear of eating in public. It's a real thing, because I just knew that if I was eating in public, the people were looking at me and judging me. I just knew that if I was eating in public, people were being like, oh my God, she's so fat, she shouldn't be eating. Oh my gosh, she should stop eating. Because I was feeling that way about myself, I projected that assumption on every other human being that could possibly cross my path while I was eating. I automatically assumed that that's how they were feeling about me. So I began hiding. I became one of those women that would go through a drive-through and order a supersized value meal and 2 hot apple pies, and I would justify that because they were 2 for $1. And I would act like I was ordering for somebody else. And I would go sit and I would gulp all that food down as quickly as I could. I would go find a garbage can somewhere. I'd empty the contents so nobody would know. And then when I would go home at night to this man that I loved, I would say, no, I'm not hungry. I'm trying to lose some weight. And then I would be starving the next morning. So, I was in another drive-through ordering breakfast and gulping that down. And I hid. And I had everyone around me convinced that, oh my God, I don't ever eat anything. Why am I this fat? They didn't know I was hiding in the car. It got so bad that I was carrying a toothbrush with me and mouthwash so that you couldn't smell food on me. It did. It got bad. That then spiraled into a disorder where I wouldn't eat, and I was doing a very unhealthy and toxic OMAD, 1 meal a day. And the 1 meal a day was absolutely a disgusting amount of food. I was probably honestly taking in anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 calories in one sitting. And it was ice cream and cookies, and I became that sugar beast became alive inside me, and it was horrible. And I lived that way for a long time. Only I had some control over my weight. My weight maintained between 150 pounds and 170 pounds from about age 30 to about age 35 or 36. And then every year after about age 35, when they diagnosed me in perimenopause, my weight, good morning, how are you, Teresa? And then what happened was, every year after about age 32 or 33, I maintained a size 8'10". I maintained a weight of about 150, 160, somewhere around there. And I really didn't have a weight issue. I actually had an amazing body, right? So I kept it hidden. No one could look at me and tell that I had an eating disorder. No one could look at me and tell that I was a binge eater. And the reason they couldn't tell is because I would eat all of that crap in one sitting, and then I would punish myself the next day by eating nothing at all. So I was doing a very unhealthy, toxic version of OMAD. Only sometimes I would only eat every 3 days, every 2 days, every one. I was doing long-term fasting. When I first started keto and I heard about intermittent fasting, it terrified me because I was like, no. And the first time I tried intermittent fasting, I gotta be honest with you, it invoked feelings in me of binging. It invoked a feeling. I felt like I was binge eating because I was purposefully counting out about 2,000 calories to consume during this one meal. And it brought back all those feelings, so I backed off of it for a while. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Now, that was when I first started keto. About a month into keto, I started noticing my appetite was just naturally decreasing. I noticed that I no longer felt the need to have breakfast in the morning. As my blood sugars came down, I'm sure my insulin levels were coming down. I didn't feel that insatiable hunger after I ate a small meal. So I started with saying, okay, the night before, for dinner, I'm going to eat some fats and protein to sustain me through tomorrow's fast. And I started just by doing a eat dinner by 6 p.m. and then I did not eat anything until 6 a.m. the next morning. That gave me a 12-hour fast. And then I cut down from eating physical, just to eating food, consuming food, to just having a bulletproof coffee. And then instead of having food for breakfast, I moved that bulletproof coffee to where I would bring it with me to work. And then I would have it around 7 o'clock. And then I'd have it around 8 o'clock. Well, when bulletproof coffee gets cold, it's, not going to happen for me. So you guys might like it, but no, girl ain't doing cold, greasy coffee. So anyway, so then I started doing black coffee. And I slowly transitioned, but the emotions were invoked when I first started intermittent fasting because I felt that's what I used to do to punish myself. I used to go hours, days without eating and then gorge myself. But here's where keto and intermittent fasting are so different. Number one, I have yet to find a day. I think I've had 2 days in 8 months where I was able to physically consume over 3,000 calories. Have you ever tried to eat 2,000 calories in one sitting from fat and protein? It's hard to do. It was hard for me to do, okay? It was very hard for me to do, especially now that I have my blood glucose and my insulin in check. And then the longer I do this, the smaller my stomach gets, the less food that I can consume. So keto helps me because it makes me feel full all the time. Being in the state of ketosis actually eliminates the hormone that replicates hunger or that creates the feeling of being hungry. So starting on keto, the first few weeks can be a struggle. And if you are highly insulin resistant or you are a type 1, type 2 diabetic, you're going to still struggle because you still have insulin issues to resolve. If you have a fatty liver, if you've been diagnosed with PCOS, if you have metabolic syndrome, if you are in menopause and you are in over age 40, I mean, there are a lot of conditions that can cause, you hear all these stories about I started ketosis, the first couple weeks was rough, and by week 3 I was sailing right along. It took me a little longer than that. And I only lost 7 pounds my first month, where most people lose like 15 to 20 pounds their first month. I mean, even my husband on low carb has lost 31 pounds in 2 months, and I still haven't touched that. but he doesn't have metabolic syndrome, PCOS, menopause, blah, blah, blah. The point I'm trying to make is, though, keto will help you transition and fix the hormones in your body that make you feel hungry. Emotionally, you have to kind of keep yourself in check. And you've got to understand when you are replicating those bad behaviors. So what I have done, some of the fail safes that I've put into place, is I never deprive myself. I will portion, you guys know I'm a meal prepper, I will portion my food, but if I'm still hungry, I will go grab a handful of almonds. If I'm still hungry, I'll have another ounce of cheese. Good morning, Ruben. It was nice to see you on the channel the other day, making your debut. So, I don't deprive myself. If I'm physically hungry, I will typically wait 5-10 minutes. I'll wait because sometimes the hunger receptors in your stomach don't realize that you're full yet. It takes a few minutes for those receptors to signal to the brain that you've had enough to eat. So I'll wait. So here's what I do. So I am right now comfortably doing 18-6 intermittent fasting. Comfortably. My blood sugars are beautiful. My ketones are beautiful. I meal prep my meals. I watch my macros. I do keep myself at a somewhere around 1,500 calories a day. But as you can see, I'm active. I've already done 45 squats today. I've done 2 45-second planks, and I'm working on just walking. I'm really not making much progress there. But anyway, long story short. So I just don't deprive myself. And I don't guilt myself after I don't deprive myself. So let's say that tonight, so today is salad day. I've got a nice portion salad with lettuces, cucumbers. Yes, I do start early. With cucumbers, celery, low glycemic foods, low glycemic veggies. I made my own ranch dressing. If you saw my video this morning, he's low carb, she's keto. Hey, hi Sheena, good morning. Gosh, the whole group's here. So, keto, because it's it's moderate protein, high fat, that helps sustain your hunger. It helps get your hormones in check. And then once you start intermittent fasting, your stomach is now shrinking. But what I love about intermittent fasting is it's kind of like a safety net. Should I emotionally, because I'm an emotional eater, have a day where I have a bad day, if it's one meal a day and I sit down and consume 2,500 calories at one sitting, it's not destroying my entire week, which used to be my pitfall when I was on a standard American diet or on a vegetarian diet. It didn't matter what diet I was following. When you would have a cheat day, it would set me back weeks and I would become discouraged, and so one cheat day would become 2 cheat days, become 3 cheat days, become 4 cheat days. Next thing you know, you're restarting. Whereas what I have found on keto, can you believe I am getting ready to complete my 8th month? 8 months, 2 binges. If I completely go into self-destruct mode, let's say I have an emotional day. Thank you. Let's say I have an emotional day and I go into complete meltdown, complete anxiety attack, complete meltdown mode, and I eat 2 bunless burgers and I'm over my carbs and I'm over. What I love about keto is as long as that big meal is keto, I have found it impossible to overeat my calories. I have found it impossible. Because I can't eat more than about 8 wings, chicken wings. I can't eat about more than 8 wings and I'm stuffed. I can't eat more than maybe a double cheeseburger and I'm stuffed, a bunless, of course, bunless. I can't eat more than that, and I'm absolutely stuffed. I can't eat more than a 3-egg omelet with cheese, and I'm stuffed. So whereas when I was eating carbohydrates and sugar, I was able to get that calorie count way up there, right? And then of course you crash from the carbs, you crash from the sugar, and then you've got high insulin, and the insulin is triggering all of those hunger hormones in you, and it's a hot mess. But I'm just here to tell you, if you have an eating disorder, if you are binge eating, if you are trying to use keto and intermittent fasting for binge eating, don't just listen to somebody without a degree on YouTube. Please seek help. There are so many places around here that you can, for free, you can get help. You can get counseling. But for my journey, keto has helped me. And it has quieted the binging beast. I'm telling you, that beast is somewhere way in the back. And the further I go on keto, and the more I get into intermittent fasting, the more energy I have, the smaller my stomach becomes, the less those hunger hormones are triggering all throughout my body, firing out, the less need that I'm never that hungry anymore. I still have anxiety. I still have a very high pressure job. I'm living my life as a human. A lot of people look at me and they think that I'm some kind of superhuman person. I'm just really good at hiding my emotions. I'm really good at making you believe that everything is just A-okay when inside it's a hot freaking mess. I'm just really good at that because I've grown up with the suck it up buttercup kind of, upbringing. I'm not really good at sharing feeling stuff. I'm really good at honesty. Look at that purple sky back there. I'm really good at honesty, and I'm really good at straightforwardness, but I'm not really good with the whole sharing my emotions side and telling people I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. I can't breathe. I suffer from horrible anxiety. That's one of the things that I'm working on. I keep it to myself. Yeah, I did. But it's important, and I think that's why YouTube is helping me too. I'm breaking out of my shell. I did that video back about 9 months ago before I started keto called I Lost My Ninja. And I just had a complete total meltdown on YouTube. And I think the love and the support that I got made me feel like this was a safe place to be myself. Yes. So it's important. I think it's important because this time of year, you've got a lot of people searching for that New Year's resolution. And there's a lot of people out there that were like me. They were binge eaters. They're closet eaters. You would never know they're a binge eater, and that's the thing. People always think that you can tell when someone's in distress just by looking at them, watching their behavior. Oh my gosh. At one time in my life, I was the most functioning person in the world. I got up, I went to work. By all of the exterior, you would have never known that inside I was just dying. I was dying, that I cried myself to sleep every single night, that I was so riddled with anger and anxiety and frustration, and that I had panic attacks where I couldn't freaking breathe, and it felt like somebody was squeezing my throat, and I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to pass out. And I used to have those like on a weekly basis. When I was with my ex-husband, it was that bad. But from outside, you were like, oh my gosh, she's got her house together. She's got a clean house. She's raising 7 kids. She cooks a home-cooked meal every night. Her house is always spotless. I created that illusion around me that I'd smile. Hi, how are you today? Oh my God, I'm so great. That is so awesome. Yes, I will talk to you later. You have a good day. Bye-bye now. And that was the illusion that I created. I orchestrated the whole thing. And everyone around me, when I had finally had enough and I left my ex-husband, was like, I had no idea you were hurting. Of course you didn't, because I'm really good at hiding that crap. My husband is helping me learn to be myself and be open about who I am. He says that I'm a beautiful person. But because my whole entire life I've always been told in a negative way how dramatic, in a negative way, I was always told, you're so dramatic. You're so dramatic. Oh, the Academy Award goes to Melanie for Best Actress in a Drama. You know, I was always told, you talk too much, you're too loud, you're too excitable, you get too passionate, people don't want to hear what you have to say. I mean, my own family, when I started YouTube, not all family, let me exclude about 2 members of my family, were like, who wants to listen? My mom actually told me, God rest her soul, I'm not talking bad about the ill. I love my mom. But my mom told me, your sisters and brother think you're absolutely ridiculous. Aren't you too old to be doing a YouTube channel? Aren't you? Who? Now, wait a minute. Who really wants to watch you just get on a camera and talk about yourself? That was the reaction that I got. If you watch the video about my closing with my mom, it was a different story. But when I started YouTube 4 years ago, I was laughed at. I had coworkers that teased me, made fun of me. I had somebody in the middle of a meeting make the comment, you only have 60 subscribers. That is why I'm also so passionate about shouting out as many people as I can, focusing on smaller YouTubers. Because you know what? Not everybody has to want to hear my voice. Not everyone has to feel my message. Not everyone has to learn something from something I'm teaching. But if that one person, and I pray before every video, God, let my words fall on ears that need it. Bring the person to me that needs to hear my message. You know, it's not about 10,000 subscribers. It's not about making buku money on YouTube. It's honestly at this point about just bring the right person to me. So I have to go to work. One more time, I'll show you that foggy purple sunrise back there. So beautiful. Let me try to get some purposeful, meaningful steps in this morning. Thanks for listening. If you are struggling with binge eating, overeating, any kind of eating disorder, please get help. Please get help. Please get help. But just know that the keto diet can actually greatly decrease the hunger hormones in you. It's going to make you feel fuller. Once you deplete your body of that sugar, that's going to eliminate some of that addiction. You're going to feel better. You're going to start losing weight, and hopefully that'll give you enough momentum to keep going. But before you start any eating plan, ask your professionals. Thank you all for joining me on the live stream today. You keep being a ninja. I'm going to keep love you too. Love you too. Bye. Bye, Nona. Have a beautiful day. All of you have safe travels today.